November meeting. Maybe I'll start that again. Kia ora koutou everyone. Welcome to the NRC November meeting, our second to last for the year. We won't have any housekeeping as this is a Zoom due to COVID. So I'll start with the karakia. Tēnei o, tēnei mātou, he kaikonahera, he kawanga I ngā whakatona, I ngā tikanga, ki uta ki tai, kia rewa I ngā iwi katoa o tētai tokoro. Humi e, hui e, tai ki e. Great. So we have apologies from Councillor Justin Blakey today. Could I have a mover and seconder for that, please? Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Marty. All those in favour of accepting those apologies?
Aye.
Anyone against? Are there any further apologies? I see all councillors are here, so I'm taking that there won't no further apologies. Item 4, declarations of conflicts of interest. We'll take those as we go, unless there's some at the moment that someone would like to declare. All right, we'll move on to items 5. So 5.1, confirmation of minutes of the council meeting 19th of October 2021 on page 6. Could I have a mover and seconder for those minutes, please? Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Rick. Any discussion? No? All those in favour? Carried. 5.2, receipt of the action sheet on page 17. There was only one action, I believe, and that's still in train, isn't it, Chris?
Yes, that's correct. We've asked for the information but haven't had a response to date.
So could I have a move and seconder to we do receive the action sheets?
Yes, please.
Mover Marty, seconder.
Yep.
Thank you, Joss. So is there any discussion or questions on that action? No, it's a matter of waiting until we get a reply. Okay, all those in favour? Carried. It's all very quiet, isn't it? All right, we'll move on to items 6. So 6.1, the financial reports to 31st of October 2021 on page 19.
I'd like to move those.
Sorry, is it just the one recommendation there?
Just the one.
Thank you, Rick. Seconder. Thank you, Colin. Comments, discussion. Stuart or Danny, anything that you'd like to know? Any questions from councillors?
Pretty happy considering.
Yeah, I think it was clear from expenditure that COVID has impacted not only our revenue somewhat, but certainly our expenditure.
Yep.
Yeah. Marty, you're on. Yes.
Yeah, a question for those out that are listening in. Just a comment from that. Quite a big drop in the funds there, or a percentage drop, if with a comment from any of the advisors.
Are you talking revenue or expenditure or both, Marty?
Long-term fund gains.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Stuart.
No, I think in looking at the time and certainly my more recent conversation with Jonathan, it's pretty much, I would say, in keeping with what we've seen out there in terms of the degree of volatility we've seen around asset values. And in fact, it's probably on the low side of what one might normally have expected with what we've seen in the past 3 months. So that didn't sort of register anything too untoward.
Yeah, I think, as it says in there, that October has we're back on budget.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and we're going to see quite a bit of. I mean, we're going to see this. we're at that point where we're seeing across the board asset values, whatever they might be, whether they be equity, commodity, property, bonds, there's going to be significant volatility in their revaluations at the moment, given state of play, and unfortunately, there's no hiding from that, because what's the place you go to?
Yeah. Yes, Danny.
Just to add here on that, I mean, I guess the previous 12 months, you can't expect that significant a bounce back as we had in that 2020 period. It was unprecedented across the global market, versus what we're seeing now is probably, I guess it's more what Stuart has said, the volatility in the market. You're going to experience that over the next 12, 18 months, versus that previous 12 months, the bounce back of a lockdown has been experienced in the marketplace, versus this next 12, 18 months is going to go up and down.
They're still predicting a correction though, aren't they? Malcolm, I see you've got your hand up. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Chair. Just to clarify, October is just an estimate. We haven't actually had October's report yet. So it's just an estimate from our advisors on what we might expect. So I don't think we can take anything, or we can't assume that October is a correction. Those numbers still have to come through.
Okay.
Yeah, just to comment, I suppose it's good to see that it's well and truly flagged. Thanks.
Cool. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Slow and steady as she goes. Stuart, slow and steady.
Okay, so all those in favour of
Aye.
6.1? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 6.2, regional rates, and there are where is the recommendation? Oh yeah, just the recommendation to receive the report. Could I have a mover and seconder, please?
I'm happy to move it.
Moved Rick, seconded Amy, thank you. Discussion. Work in progress. Nothing? Yes, Danny.
Just noting that, and this was to be expected in terms of the mighty remissions that have come through in that period, and just something to note for the councillors.
Thank you. I had a couple of notes down here, but I think I've asked them already. I was wondering, the percentage of rates outstanding rather than the amount, is that something that would be helpful for councillors? It sort of puts it in a little bit more perspective. Because we've got the amounts, and even though there's more outstanding than the year before, it would be, given that there's been rate rises, the percentage would be quite good as well. Does that make sense, Malcolm?
Chair, we can put that into our reports. The second report that comes directly in from the territorials, we don't have full control over what goes into those reports, but happy to ask the finance team to put that into our reports.
Okay. Thank you. That's pretty much all I had. So if there's nothing further, all those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. All right, so we'll move on to item 7, the decision-making matters. 7.1, the annual report on the biosecurity operational plan, page 28. So we have 3 recommendations there. If everyone's comfortable that we take them all together. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Move Jack, seconded. Thank you, Marty. Jack, any comments from you first up?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the staff on putting together a really fulsome report. It's very big. It covers a lot of territory. And when you have a look at the challenges that the council and the biosecurity team have faced in the last over that period with COVID and other events, tail end of a drought, floods and all the other things, the performance is quite spectacular, really. There are certain areas where it's identified there that we didn't perform up to expectations, but they were due to not having enough personnel. But as the report itself outlines, that we've been able to get new staff to plug those gaps. And there are key areas there that are really outstanding, like marine and carry dieback, and also all our extension work and our work with CPCAs and HVAs. I think it's a report to be proud of. So I'd like to congratulate the staff for the annual report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree, Jack, and I'm sure councillors will as well. 81% targets met or part met, despite, like you say, Jack, the difficulties that have been. Very well presented report as well. Thank you to the team. Don, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Don McKenzie, GM.
Ngā mihi, kia koutou. Thank you, Madam Chair. No, nothing at this stage. We enjoy the fact that Council enjoys the report. I would acknowledge our Fine Officer Louise Orford in pulling together the strands this year from the different teams. And as Group Manager, I just feel very proud of the team to have been able to provide this through what was a tricky year last year. And we're probably heading into a trickier year in terms of outcomes. Kia ora mai.
Yes, kia ora. Thank you, Don. Any further comments or questions from councillors? No. Okay, all those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. 7.2, Clean Whole Plan, update on a National Pathway Management Plan. And this is on page 31. So we have 2 recommendations there.
I'd like to move those, please.
Thank you, Rick, and seconded Jack. Is there anyone from staff that wants to speak on this? Or any councillors that have questions? It's reasonably straightforward. It's a work in progress. Great work in progress.
Madam Chair, I think that's another example where we should be congratulating the staff for showing some national leadership here. It's been, and we've discussed this at Biosecurity and Biodiversity Working Party, but it's been a long time getting MPI to show some leadership, and I think really that 1 or 2 or possibly 3, but in particular one regional council being Northern has shown the way that has really dragged MPI up to the mark. And so I think staff should be congratulated for the way that they've led this program, but also led by results in our regional program, showing what can be done. And I think this is actually a really good step forward in terms of our relationship with MPI and in the performance of MPI nationally. So it's all good news. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I see that my reading is that the advantages do outweigh any disadvantages. There is still a fair bit of detail to be worked out, but that's the nature of how these things work. So, but yeah, great work from staff and great initiative from NRC.
Awesome. Just want to back you up, Jack. Thank you.
Okay. So we've got movers and seconders. All those in favour? Carried. 7.3, Hunter Arts Centre, revoking a condition of funding to appoint a council representative to the governance group, page 36. We have 2 recommendations there. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Marty. Seconder, Amy. Any discussion or comments from councillors?
Just a comment. Initially I thought it was worthwhile having a bit of an input in there, but no, it's something we don't need to have anything to do with, apart from, as you say, that giving support to it.
Yeah, thank you, Marty. I think, yeah, there's a good explanation in the papers to go with what staff are recommending or There's nothing further. All those in favour? Carried. 7.4, draft NRC submission, emissions reduction discussion document. So that is on page 38. So could I have a mover and seconder, please? Amy moved, seconded. Colin, thank you. So we're happy with all the extras from councillors' feedback in there. Justin, Justin Murfitt, did you want to speak to this at all? I believe we are wanting to add something about trawling.
Morning all. Yes, yeah, I got the emails, and I think we can add another paragraph in around the potential impacts of bottom trawling. And I think the other suggestion was to remove specific reference to agriculture and just refer to hard to abate emissions generally. So yeah, happy to add some content on those two, or change the draft. It's been forwarded by email to that effect. Yep.
Thank you. So we are going to have to, how do we handle that?
I think Jono was suggesting an amendment to the recommendation. Essentially, the submission as tabled being endorsed, and that the Chair and Councillor McDonald be authorised to make further amendments and approve the final draft prior to lodgement. So just...
Chair, I've just emailed everyone a draft resolution change to resolution 3.
Okay.
Thank you, Jono.
Would you like me to read it out?
Yes, please.
It reads that Council endorses the submission as tabled, and that Chair Smart and Councillor McDonald be authorised to make further amendments and approve the final submission to be lodged with the Ministry for the Environment.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear. Can you just say it again, Jono?
Faded out a little bit, Jono.
Yeah, apologies. That Council endorse the submission as tabled, and that Chair Smart and Councillor McDonald be authorised to make further amendments and approve the final submission to be lodged with the Ministry for the Environment.
Okay, so
and when I say the version that's tabled, that's the version that Justin has emailed around to all councillors.
Yeah. So we need a mover and seconder for that amendment, don't we?
Aye.
Yeah. So could I have the mover and thank you, Marty, seconded Amy. All those in favour of that amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? No, so that amendment's carried. So now we can move that as well as the other, or all of them, the 4 that we've already had move and seconder for. Am I on the right track here, Chris?
Just technically, the original mover and seconder cannot move an amendment, and so Amy was our original mover. So you've got 2 options: either our original mover and seconder, which are Councillor McDonald and Kitchen, just approve that change. They have the authority to do that. Otherwise, you need 2 new councillors for that amendment.
I will approve that change as the second.
Okay, so we'll go with that option. So now we go to all 4.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. So all those in favour of those 4 recommendations?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. So that takes us out of decision-making matters onto operational reports. So we have 8.1, which is the health and safety report, page 57.
Also moved, Madam Chair. Kitchen.
Thank you. That's just for the one recommendation there. Moved by Colin, seconded by...
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Rick. Any questions or comments, councillors or independents? No? No comments from you, Malcolm? Please put your hand up if you're... No? Okay. All right, all those in favour of accepting the health and safety report? Thank you, carried. Quick meeting. 8.2, the Chair's report to Council. I'll move. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Rick. Any questions on the Chair's report? No. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Okay, 8.3, the Chief Executive's report on page 63. Could I have a mover or seconder, please? Thank you, Joss. Moved Joss, seconded Amy. Questions, comments from councillors? Another very good, informative report. And just noting the highlights, and congratulations to all those new appointments there.
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very pleased with the new structure there. Nothing further? Yes, Jack.
Well, Penny, I couldn't let the monitoring report on the wastewater treatment plant performances owned by the TAs go unnoticed. It looks like we have to steel ourselves for some challenges there, because this, that's not insignificant, the non-compliance issues there. So I guess I'd like Colin to perhaps reassure us that we're able to actually keep monitoring them to the right standard. Do we have enough staff to do that? And if there's any outstanding issues that we may have to act on fairly soon?
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, we've got our monitoring programs for those various discharges and sufficient staff resource to continue monitoring those. We did miss some scheduled inspections because of COVID, but hopefully we'll pick those up before the end of the financial year. Just to add on the point, yes, there are a number of treatment plants that are under abatement notice. A number of those abatement notices have been in place for a while, and we are trying to address a number of them through the consent replacement process, which is likely to require upgrades of the treatment plants.
So I'll come to you next, Joss. It's that the work that's required are in the respective councils' long-term plans. Colin?
Yeah, I've presented tables previously on giving some of the associated LTP budgets for the treatment plants that have particular problems. The key obviously will be ensuring that the district councils are able to deliver on any new requirements for consents and actually spend their budgeted amounts for improvements.
Yeah, so it's the ones predominantly that are in the next couple of years, because the Three Waters work will change that, won't it?
Yeah, the work will be required regardless of, if it's the asset transferred to entity A or retained with the districts.
Yeah, actually, stormwater and wastewater is later in the piece, isn't it, as far as the Three Water entities?
No, at this stage, definitely all the assets are proposed to transfer to the new entities. One of the key objectives of the new proposal is that there are no what are called stranded assets.
Mm.
The big question mark at the moment is about some of the stormwater assets and things like drainage schemes, where they will fall or lie under the new, if they are retained by the district councils or transferred to the proposed new entity for Northland and Auckland. So that's still hasn't been completely resolved at this stage.
Yeah, so that the work required won't change, but the responsibility of who does that work will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Potentially. With the implementation date is still in I think it's July 2024.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
But there will be a transition period between the two, and so there might need to be some, if you like, transitional arrangements to ensure things don't stagnate, for want of a better term.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously we retain the regulator role. Joss.
Thanks, Chair. It's just worth noting a couple of things. Firstly, that this table has been added into our council agenda at the behest of councillors, so that we're putting the same degree of scrutiny on the wastewater treatment plants as what we have done for farm dairy effluent over the last however long. And while it was always, both were certainly always being monitored, and certainly always the work has been going on, elevating it so that it comes through into the council meeting and we have it front and centre is a good way of ensuring that we just keep it front of mind. The other thing is that we have initiated in the Planning and Regulatory Working Party a standing item on our agenda with regards to the wastewater treatment plants, and I am fairly focused on checking in at every meeting just to see where we've got ones that are in train, or whether there's delays in just trying to kick those along as much as we possibly can, because we know that there is significant investment required, and that investigation in terms of what's actually being put into LTPs versus what is actually the priority has been something that we've been investigating through the Planning and Reg Working Party. So it is certainly something that we are continuing to investigate and continuing to promote and push for improved wastewater treatment across Northland.
Thank you, Joss. Colin, would you like to answer that before we go to Amy?
Yes, just in response to that, I do remind councillors that like ourselves, the district councils are currently going through their annual plan process. So there will be an opportunity to scrutinise where things are at and make submissions on those annual plans as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Amy.
Thank you, Chair. Just on page 85, I think it's a question for Jono, but it might be a question for Colin. Just looking at the bullets there around the water allocation work that has been done, and the work that NIWA has done, which indicates that the method we've been using for resource consent compared to the updated method in the regional plan, in terms of how the low flow statistic is generated, and then what that means for freshwater ecosystems. Just noticing there in the last bullet that there's a recommendation around some future work that could be done because the modelling was shown to be not really suitable. Catchment specific investigations to understand what's happening there in terms of the flow predictions and the ecological impacts on fish habitat. I guess I was just wanting to understand how that work may or may not connect to all of the work we're doing in the freshwater space in terms of our sort of the freshwater plan change and the work we need to do in FMUs, and are they connected? Just wanting to understand if that recommendation to undertake further work is somehow catered for in our current portfolio of work, because I know we're doing lots on this space. And then I guess the second question is just around seeing that the existing consent conditions and the way that they're designed, if that work did bring up issues, is there an opportunity to revisit the consent conditions and look at the use of different low flow statistics? Sorry, quite a detailed question, but I just thought it was quite interesting. So is that you, Jono?
Sure, Councillor. I can answer the first part, maybe around the modelling and the plan change process and the impact on resource consents and stuff. I might leave Colin to respond to, if that's all right. So Process-wise, our current plan change implementing the freshwater MPS is purely water quality. We have, as you know, some default water quantity in our proposed regional plan that's going through the courts at the moment. However, this here is consistent with what our conversation has been of there are some high allocated catchments, and we may have to do a further plan change specifically on water quantity in those priority catchments. It's a little bit about capacity at the moment. We're just trying to finish off our current regional plan through the courts, get that operative, continue to progress our water quality plan change, and then looking at water quantity around some priority catchments will be next cab off the rank.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Jono.
Consents, I'll pass over to Colin.
Right, with consents, without knowing which potential consents potentially fall within that, the bounds or the new bounds or modelling, it's difficult to answer, but many consents have a review condition that specifically allows for reviews when there are plan changes and changes to flow limits.
Okay.
So in general, the answer is quite possibly, I suspect, will be the answer.
Yeah, there's a process that we need to go through to get to that point. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Thanks, Penny.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Rick.
I just wanted to compliment the Maritime team, pages 76 to 77. They're well and truly ready for summer. So it's great. I think we mentioned it at the last meeting, but you know, it's been quite a sort of downtrodden month for the Maritime team. So good on them for keeping going. And I see the signs are going up. Wardens have been appointed. It's looking awesome. I think we're going to be I shouldn't say invaded. We're going to have quite a number of people up here in the next few weeks. So great that they're onto it. So can we please pass that on to them? Thank you.
Good call, Rick. Thank you. Jack.
Yeah, page 69, the delegation of Wild Animal Control Act powers. For you, Don, I guess. I'm taking the last sentence there. If staff cannot access properties where deer are present, eradication will be an unrealistic goal. I'm taking that as a cry for help. Can you tell me if we've got any progress at all in getting obtaining those permissions, or is it now time for us to be writing to the Minister?
And through you, Madam Chair, we have prepared a letter for which is under consideration at the moment, and our North Island manager for Papa Te Whai for the department has asked for a meeting and has been in touch this week for her officials to meet directly with me and to see if there is absolutely any other alternative. So we're preparing for that meeting. We're expecting that in the next couple of weeks. From there, I need to go back to the Chief Executive to see what the next steps would be. So that's the situation at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's looking like we're sort of heading into the eye of a perfect storm. We've got all our plannings in place. I'm talking particularly about the Sika herd. And we've got the hapu really on board. We've got the science input and the leadership from our own team and new staff. But if we can't get Doc to play ball, then we're really not going to succeed. We're just going to waste our time and resources, and deer are going to escape and become ubiquitous. So we really need to throw everything at this. And I think you'll find that council will back up whatever you ask us to do in terms of getting a result here. I know it's not easy, and I understand quite a lot of the background of why individual staff may not want to cooperate, but I think the issue simply needs to be elevated.
The individual landowner do you mean, Jack?
Well, yeah, so our staff cannot get onto properties where the landowner denies us access, citing the WAC Act, and that puts us into conflict with the Biosecurity Act, and that's something we want to avoid.
Yeah.
But we simply could be solved if the Department of Conservation gave our staff WAC Act entry powers. It's quite a simple matter. But anyway, or else took the problem over and dealt with it themselves. And you know, it's ironic how the department won't control deer on its own land and won't even let us do it for them at no cost to them. It's just an intractable situation that has to be resolved.
Yeah.
It's nice. It'd be nice if it didn't become political. It would be good if it could be dealt with at an administrative level. But I guess the message for you, Don, is to tell the North Island manager that the issue isn't going away, and we don't want it to become political. We just want them to deal with it in an administrative way so we can all collectively get on with the job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, I think we would take it upon that feedback to the Chair of the Biosecurity and Biodiversity Working Party on progress with this.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Don. And just noting that there is a new CEO of DOC, so maybe we will get some more traction there. Should be good. Any further questions for Malcolm's report? Okay, all those in favour of accepting it?
Aye.
Carried. So we'll move on to items 9, receipt of committee minutes. Page 91. So we have 2 there. We've got Civil Defence Emergency Management Group meeting and Te Onera Atohi board meeting. Could I have movers and seconder to accept those?
Definitely.
Thank you, Rick. Seconded, Colin.
Thank you.
Rick, would you like to speak to CDM?
Right. So I guess we've just had the recent Civil Defence meeting as well, which updated us on specifically our Tsunami Sirens, which I know we are. I guess the point with Tsunami Sirens is the new ones are coming. There'll be actually less, but they are stronger. So there are a number of Northlanders commented that they couldn't hear the Tsunami Sirens. These ones there will be a number less, but they will be stronger. And some of them will actually, as I've mentioned before, I think will be talking ones. So that's interesting. They will not only send you a noise, they will tell you what to do. So that's a bonus. In terms of supporting the team, I just want to say that it has been a difficult time for the Civil Defence team. The Minister at a Zoom a couple of weeks ago was very supportive of all teams, and we're about to launch, well, we have launched our plan, and she is very supportive of the CDM Northland Defence plan. So we've got the big tick off from the Minister, which we're very happy with, and we're very much looking forward to implementing that. It is a fantastic plan, and it's a fantastic, if anybody gets a chance to read it, it's the fantastic summary of Northland. It's very well presented and very easy to read, and I hope it gets out to the wider community. So in closing, I just do want to support the Civil Defence team, and who knows what's around the corner, but I do hope they get a rest in the next, I shouldn't say that, in the next few weeks, because you never know what's going to happen. But I do hope it's a quieter time for them coming into Christmas. They've done a fantastic job up till now. And I know Victoria has taken over as group manager and Tony is stepping back a little bit. But as I said at the Civil Defence meeting, it was Tony's last meeting, and he's done 41 on the trot over the last 10 years. So I did thank him at that meeting, and in a public arena, I would like to thank Tony Phipps again for his amazing work and his support for the team going into summer. So thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Yes, an amazing contribution from Tony Phipps
Madam Chair, can I come in here too? Sorry.
Certainly.
Yeah. Thank you. I just like to toga what Rick has said, and especially in regard to Tony Phipps. I spent 10 years as chair of CDEM under Tony, and as I alluded to the meeting the other day, he's a great man, done a lot of great work, and he's left that department in a really good space, and best wishes to Victoria moving forward. And just another thing that I was did come up, I know it was just a meeting the other day, is the Northland and New Area Operations Centre. So making really good progress on that. So I think that's a real positive, and it shows just the commitment and the partnership that is happening between all the TAs and the emergency services and the regional council. So job well done. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Colin. Any further questions or comments? No? Okay, so Te Aotearoa Atohi board meeting. Marty, is that you? You're on mute, Marty.
Yes, both myself and Councillor Kitchen. The beach management plan is all go, and similar to TMAC, we want to keep all of the objectives of the plan in front of us and actually get some runs on the board to get it actually working. So there is a technical group that are going to be the three relatively easy wins, I should hope. One is signage on the beach, two is speed limits, and the other real contentious issue is spreading of ashes. So those are the three that we're trying to instigate. The spreading of ashes it's a nationwide thing. So how we can get that in place with nationwide support, really. The last meeting we had was the presentations by the mussel spat collectors, who are coming more and more on board with compliance and just doing things right by the beach. Also the dogs, feral dogs up the top, still a problem, and Te Aotearoa Trail, as a result of that, is got to be some perhaps modifications as to where the trail is going to go, both for feral dogs and also for taonga and Waihi tapu on the right to the north there. So it is still moving forward, but it will be good to get some runs on the board, see success, so there's a bit of momentum with instigating the plan along the way.
Thanks, Marty. Colin, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think Marty's covered that very well. Just one other thing that did come up at the meeting is just in relation to partnerships again, the 90 Mile Beach, the Snapper Bonanza Classic is coming up next year, and that's run on the beach every year. So it's a big event, 1,000 anglers, a lot of people coming up there. So it's just the board is entered a partnership with the group that's running it, and maybe looking at ways of giving them a little bit of support. But they do support this big event up there. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Any questions for Colin and Marty? I did personally wonder whether that was in the mandate of the board to provide sponsorship to things like fishing competitions.
There is that proviso in there that it is provided that it holds water.
Yeah,
it's just trying to give support to both the competition, but also using that as a platform for getting the education across. But yes, there is advice being asked or sought as to whether it is appropriate.
Yeah, and we are in discussion with that. Yeah, and I may not put it quite right, not sponsorship, but I think we're trying to use it as Marty alluded to, as an education. We get people there, so an educational platform too. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thanks, Colin. Just bearing in mind that there's a finite amount of money.
Absolutely.
Yep. Anything further? Okay, so all those in favour of accepting those committee minutes? Carried. 9.2, Working Party Updates and Chairperson's Briefing. Hopefully I've got it right this month and there's only one, and that's Biosecurity and Biodiversity. Could I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Jack. Seconded, Amy. Jack, would you like to speak to your B&B?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I don't have much to report on because most of it got elevated to the council agenda items, but I would like to mention the FIF Dune Lakes project update that's been extremely successful and it's exceeded our expectations, I think, and not only in terms of the results of getting rid of pest fish and pest and weeds, but also in our relationships with the individual hapu and the kura, using kura as well, has been really good. Just to let and congratulate staff for that work. And also let everyone know that the last item there is that staff will be coming back with an indicative budget for a major eradication effort of hornwort in Lake Karaka for next year, which will be extremely strategic. So something to look forward to. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Jack. Yes, I agree. Extremely important to get that hornwort sorted before it really does get away on us. Any questions for biosecurity and biodiversity? Oh, okay, all those in favour? Carried. So that brings us to the end of our public session. Thank you. I'd now like to move both recommendations that we move into business with the public excluded. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Oh, saw Marty first. Sorry. Thanks, Colin. Anyway, all those in favour?